Hi, everybody.
Hello.
So Angus and I have been talking about the work we're doing with couples, and we've been thinking about what are common pitfalls that couples fall into. And they seem to be pitfalls that we've fallen into.
That's why we can talk about them.
That's right. And one of the ones that came to mind was this pitfall that we get less stuck in it lately, I would say. But in the past, we would get into an argument and we would be unhappy. We wouldn't be feeling nice feelings towards each other. And I would feel this sort of need, or it would just feel so uncomfortable to not be in a good feeling with each other that I would want to work it out right away. And so even though I wouldn't be internally stabilized and that my point of view might not be very clear, I might not be in my heart, I'd still want to try and work it out, and that would really just end up in a lot more work overall and suffering ultimately.
Yes.
When you say.
Yes, very annoying.
And you were perfect, right? And so we remember this one time, remember the time that I was working in Milan and you booked a photo shoot?
Yes.
You came over. So Angus booked this really cool photo shoot that happened to be in Milan while I was working in Milan. It was like, wow, who would have thought? We hadn't seen each other probably for a month. I mean, it was quite a long time. And this is
at least a month.
Before cell phones. We were writing letters to each other.
We were writing.
Letters. I think we were writing letters to each other.
Sending pigeons.
Phone calls and letters is what we had. So you were coming over to do the shoot, and then we were going to have 3 days. We were going to have a long weekend together. And I was really, really looking forward to it and was so excited to see you. And then you came, and it didn't go well.
It didn't go well. And I remember coming out there, and the first thing that happened was that the night I arrived, and I wasn't expecting or anticipating this to be the case, but there were these guys that you knew, and they were throwing a party, and you're saying, we have to go to this party. And I'm like, oh, really? I've got to be at this shoot in the morning. And then, so that wasn't thrilling. And then when we went back to your apartment, it was quite humid, so you insisted on the window being wide open, which I was a little bit reluctant to have it that wide open. Anyway, the net result of that was that I proceeded to be bitten by mosquitoes all night. So when I woke up in the morning, I looked in the mirror and it looked like I had 3 surgically implanted walnuts in my face. And here I am going off to Dolce & Gabbana to shoot this Russian supermodel, and I was actually quite excited about the prospect of this shoot. But now I look like I've woken up with a pox. So it didn't put me in the best frame of mind, shall we say. And then I remember getting home that evening. The shoot went okay, although I did feel very self-conscious the whole day. And then I think that you probably by this point was thinking, enough with the surgically implanted walnuts, and probably got a little bit critical with but in the face of all that moaning. and then I reacted, and then we got into the dance of death, and we were off to the races, as they say.
I think I took your mood personally, and you're right, I was probably critical, and that set us off. But that wasn't really the worst part, because now if that happened, we'd probably be over it in about 10 minutes. But at that time it was a big deal to me, and it was like, oh my gosh, there's a problem in our relationship and we need to work out and solve what this problem is. And so that started talking about the problem, and because I was in such a low state of mind about it, the more we talked, the more that I would see was wrong with the relationship, and the more that it would look like we would need to fix, and then we would get reactive with each other, and then we'd fight again, and then we'd talk some more. And so basically we spent the whole 3 days not going anywhere talking.
We did.
It was really sad to think about.
And in my mind, it felt like emotional waterboarding. And I think, if memory serves me correct, I think we're just getting into psychology and read a bunch of books, so you had all these processes and techniques to try out, and that's what we did the whole weekend. No thoughts of going off to Lake Como and having a good time. I was stuck in some apartment between those 4 walls being tortured.
Felt like I was holding you hostage.
It felt like it.
I can tell it did. So what? Sorry, were you say something?
No, I think that, you know, I say that, but you know, I can see and recognize how I get impatient about wanting to get back to a good feeling. So there's always that push. You know, if the other person is in a place of upset, speaking for myself, would definitely be trying to push towards well-being, and sometimes that can feel frustrating too.
Yeah, exactly. You'd want me to be in a good feeling. You could make me be in a good feeling.
For God's sake, get in a good feeling.
You'd try and yell me into a good feeling.
Yes.
So what I see now, which makes everything so much easier to work out when we get into those places, is that I recognize much more, one, that if I'm upset, that's my own internal state of mind, and it isn't really what you did, even though it often looks like it's what you're doing in the moment. Really looks like that, but that's never the truth. And that if I'm in a low state of mind, I'm not going to be seeing things clearly. I'm not going to be able to look at our relationship from perspective. I'm not going to be able to see the full picture of all the wonderful things. If I'm upset, I'm probably going to be zooming in on what's not working. And if I keep going in that direction and thinking about it, or even worse, talking to you about it, that's just going to magnify what looks like it's not working. It's going to get bigger in my mind rather than something that's actually manageable and not such a big deal. And so for us now, what often happens is we'll have that same kind of tiff, but instead of it taking us 3 days to work it through, we just sort of realize, oh, I got destabilized. I will internally self-regulate, get back to feeling myself, and then, you know, life will look a lot differently than it looks when I'm upset.
Yeah, well said. I guess, you know, in a nutshell, it's get out of your head and into your heart if you want to have any kind of conversation that's contentious. Because as soon as you get into your head, you're just on a hiding to nothing. You're going down blind alleys. I think of the mind very much like a cul-de-sac in that situation. You're going nowhere, and you're just going to get stuck. Get into your heart, and you're in a place of fresh new thought.
Yeah, and you don't have to work. I mean, you can't even work at getting into your heart.
No.
Really, being in our heart is our natural state, and that's where we're going to land once we settle down and stabilize.
Yeah, just wait.
Well, have a good weekend, everybody.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye.